Let me ask you something real quick. How many times have you started a diet, stayed disciplined for days or even weeks, watched the scale go down, and then looked in the mirror and thought, why is my belly fat still here? It's one of the most frustrating feelings in the world. You cut calories, you skip desserts, you drink more water, you even start moving more. Yet your stomach looks exactly the same. And eventually that little voice creeps in and says, maybe my body just doesn't want to burn belly fat. But here's the truth most people never hear. Belly fat does burn, but it burns on a timeline your body controls, not the one your motivation wants. And today we're going to talk honestly about how long you can diet before your belly fat finally starts to let go, and why it always feels like it's the last place to change. Now, before we go any further, I need you to forget everything you've been told about spot-burning fat. You cannot tell your body where to burn fat from. You can't crunch your way into a flat stomach. You can't target belly fat with special exercises. Your body doesn't work like that. Fat loss is a full-body process, and your body follows a priority system that's been hardwired into you since survival mattered more than aesthetics. When you start dieting, your body doesn't immediately go, oh great, let's get rid of this stubborn belly fat. No, the first thing your body does is protect itself. It asks one question: are we safe? And until the answer to that question is yes, your body will hold on to the fat it believes is most valuable. And belly fat is at the top of that list. Early weight loss is almost never belly fat. What you lose first is a combination of water weight, glycogen, and fat from areas your body doesn't mind giving up. Your face slims down. Your arms feel leaner. Your shoulders look sharper. Sometimes even your legs change. But your stomach? It just sits there. That's not because you're doing anything wrong. That's because belly fat is biologically designed to be stubborn. Belly fat exists to protect your organs and to act as an emergency energy reserve. From an evolutionary perspective, losing belly fat too quickly would have been dangerous. So your body resists it. And this is where most people give up, right before the real fat loss would have started. Here's something that almost no one talks about. When you diet, your body goes through phases. The first phase is adjustment. During this phase, your body is learning what's happening. Calories are lower. Food intake has changed. Hormones start shifting. Insulin levels drop. Glycogen stores empty out. That's when the scale moves fast. People get excited here. But belly fat doesn't respond much yet. The second phase is conservation. This is where dieting feels harder. Hunger increases. Energy drops. Fat loss slows down. This is your body saying, okay, this might not be temporary. And during this phase, your body becomes extremely selective about what fat it burns. It prefers to burn fat that's easier to access, not belly fat. And then comes the third phase, the one most people never reach: adaptation. This is when your body finally accepts that this new calorie intake is normal, not a threat. Hormones begin to stabilize. Hunger becomes manageable again. Energy improves, and this is when stubborn fat, including belly fat, finally starts to burn. The problem is, this phase doesn't happen in a week. It doesn't happen in 2 weeks. For most people, it takes several consistent weeks of dieting, sometimes even a couple of months, before the body feels safe enough to let go of belly fat. This is why you'll see people say things like, I dieted for a month, and my stomach didn't change at all. What they don't realize is that their body was still in the protection phase. They quit before the payoff. Another thing that makes belly fat so frustrating is hormones. Stress hormones like cortisol are closely linked to fat storage around the abdomen. When you diet aggressively, especially with very low calories, high cardio, poor sleep, and high stress, cortisol goes up. And elevated cortisol tells your body to hold on to belly fat even tighter. So if you've ever dieted hard, felt miserable, exhausted, stressed, and hungry, and your belly still wouldn't budge, it wasn't because dieting doesn't work. It was because your body was under too much stress to let go of fat safely. This is why slow, sustainable dieting almost always works better for belly fat than extreme dieting. Your body needs consistency more than intensity. It needs to trust that food is still coming. When it trusts you, it cooperates. When it doesn't, it fights back. Now let's talk timeline, because this is what everyone really wants to know. How long does it actually take before belly fat starts to burn? For most people, noticeable belly fat loss doesn't begin until at least 3 to 6 weeks of consistent dieting. And I'm not talking about pretty good most days dieting. I'm talking about consistent calorie control, adequate protein, reasonable training, decent sleep, and stress that isn't through the roof. Some people might see changes a little sooner, especially if they have a lot of fat to lose. Others might take longer. But almost nobody sees meaningful belly fat loss in the first 2 weeks. Those early weeks are the setup phase. They're not the payoff phase. And here's something important. The leaner you already are, the longer it takes. If you're already relatively fit and just trying to lose that last bit of lower belly fat, you're playing a different game. Your body is even more protective when body fat levels are lower. That's why the final stretch always feels the hardest. This is also why comparing yourself to others online is dangerous. Someone losing weight rapidly on social media might have started at a much higher body fat level. Or they might be showing you water weight loss, lighting tricks, or angles. Your journey is unique. Another reason belly fat feels like it takes forever is because it shrinks slowly and evenly. It doesn't disappear overnight. It gets softer before it gets smaller. A lot of people mistake this softness for more fat, when it's actually a sign that fat is being mobilized and prepared to be burned. If your belly feels squishier than before, that's not failure. That's progress. One of the biggest mistakes people make during this stage is changing everything too soon. They cut calories even more. They add more cardio. They start skipping meals. And all of that just raises stress and slows belly fat loss further. Your body doesn't reward panic. It rewards patience. So if you've been dieting for a few weeks and you're discouraged because your stomach hasn't changed yet, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not doing it wrong. You might actually be closer than you think. In the next part, we're going to talk about the exact mistakes that delay belly fat loss. How to know if your body is ready to burn stubborn fat. And what signs to look for that tell you it's finally happening, even before you see it in the mirror. Now let's get into the part that really trips people up. Because even when someone diets long enough for belly fat to start burning, there are certain mistakes that can slow it down so much that it feels like nothing is happening. And most of these mistakes are made with good intentions. People aren't lazy. They're trying harder, not smarter. One of the biggest mistakes is constantly changing the plan. You diet for a week, don't see belly changes, then you lower calories. Another week goes by, still no flat stomach, so you add more cardio. Then you hear about intermittent fasting, so you switch to that. Then keto. Then low fat. Your body never gets time to adapt. Every time you change things, your body goes right back into that protection mode we talked about earlier. It never fully relaxes, and stubborn fat stays put. Your body needs predictability. When calories are reasonably consistent and habits are stable, your body learns, okay, this is the new normal. That's when it starts dipping into stored fat it didn't want to touch before. Consistency beats aggression every single time when it comes to belly fat. Another huge mistake is undereating protein. Protein isn't just about muscle. Protein sends safety signals to your body. It helps control hunger, supports hormones, preserves lean mass, and tells your metabolism that you're not starving. When protein is too low, your body becomes more conservative. It slows things down. And yes, that includes belly fat loss. Sleep is another silent killer of fat loss that almost no one wants to talk about. You can have perfect calories and workouts, but if you're sleeping 5 hours a night, your hormones are working against you. Poor sleep increases hunger, lowers insulin sensitivity, raises cortisol, and makes your body cling to belly fat like it's life-saving equipment. If your belly fat isn't budging and your sleep is bad, that's not a coincidence. And then there's stress. Not just emotional stress, but diet stress. Always thinking about food. Always feeling deprived. Always feeling like you're on a diet. That mental stress translates into physical stress in your body. Your body doesn't know the difference between work stress, relationship stress, or starvation stress. Stress is stress, and stress tells your body to hold fat, especially around the stomach. This is why people sometimes lose belly fat when they stop dieting so aggressively. They eat slightly more, stress less, sleep better, and suddenly their body feels safe enough to let go of fat it was protecting before. That doesn't mean you should quit dieting. It means how you diet matters. Now here's something encouraging. There are signs that tell you belly fat burning has started, even if the mirror hasn't caught up yet. One of the first signs is appetite control improving. When your hunger feels more stable and less chaotic, that's often a sign hormones are adapting. Another sign is body temperature. People sometimes notice they feel warmer. That's metabolism becoming more efficient again. Energy levels improving is another sign. When dieting no longer feels like dragging yourself through mud every day, your body is adapting. Clothes fitting differently is a big one. Pants might feel slightly looser, even if the scale hasn't moved much. That's because fat loss doesn't always show up as dramatic weight loss, especially when water balance shifts at the same time. And like I mentioned earlier, that softer feeling in the belly area is a sign many people misunderstand. Fat doesn't just vanish. It gets mobilized first. Think of it like ice melting before it disappears. That softness is often the transition phase. Now let's talk about patience, because this is where most people fail. Not because they can't lose fat, but because they quit too early. Belly fat loss is not linear. It doesn't come off steadily, week after week. It often comes off in waves. Nothing changes, nothing changes, nothing changes, and then suddenly, you look different. Your body holds on, then lets go. Holds on, then lets go. If you quit during the holding phase, you never experience the release. This is why people who succeed at long-term fat loss aren't necessarily more disciplined. They're more patient. They understand that the process is happening even when it's invisible. Another thing that helps is shifting your focus away from your belly. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but constantly checking, poking, squeezing, and judging your stomach increases stress. Stress delays progress. When you focus on performance, habits, strength, energy, and consistency, belly fat loss becomes a byproduct instead of an obsession. Now I want to talk directly to anyone who feels like they've been dieting forever and nothing is happening. There's a difference between dieting too long and dieting inconsistently. Many people think they've been dieting for months, but when you zoom out, there are weekends off, cheat days, untracked snacks, liquid calories, and resets every Monday. That's not a judgment. It's reality. Your body responds to what you do most of the time, not what you do perfectly. If consistency isn't there, belly fat loss gets delayed. The solution isn't harsher dieting, it's more honest consistency. On the flip side, dieting too long without breaks can also stall progress. If calories stay too low for too long, your body adapts downward. This is where strategic diet breaks can help. Short periods of eating at maintenance can lower stress, improve hormones, and make the next fat loss phase more effective. Sometimes stepping back actually helps you move forward. Now let's bring everything together and answer the question clearly. How long could you diet before your belly fat finally starts to burn? For most people, the real answer is longer than they expect, but shorter than they fear. Usually somewhere between 4 to 8 weeks of consistent, well-managed dieting is when belly fat loss truly begins. Not just water weight, not just scale changes. Real visual change. For some, it happens sooner. For others, especially leaner individuals or highly stressed individuals, it takes longer. But it does happen when the conditions are right. Belly fat isn't stubborn because it hates you. It's stubborn because it's protective. When your body feels safe, nourished, rested, and consistent, it lets go. So if you're in the middle of your journey right now, feeling frustrated, questioning yourself, wondering if it's even worth continuing, this might be the most important moment to stay the course. Not blindly, not aggressively, but patiently and intelligently. You don't need to suffer more. You don't need to punish yourself. You need to give your body time to trust you. And when it does, belly fat finally stops being the enemy you fight and becomes something your body is willing to release. If this made sense to you, if you've ever felt personally attacked by stubborn belly fat, just know you're not alone. And you're not failing. You're learning how your body actually works. And that understanding changes everything.